and packing. Oh, we're live. Episode 6. Did I put that in right? This is episode 69. This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan. I'm sorry we were absent this week. Our enemies tried to kill us. They failed, though.
Well, as they always do, man. I mean, you can see my enemy, like I was just saying, is I'm not even in my office. I'm in a spare room in the house, and I got my bikes here, but I can't ride my bikes right now because I can't find the box that has my computer in it because I'm going to get lost. I don't know, man. North Carolina is sweet, except for all the contractors. They absolutely fucking suck.
Well, I figured the reason you couldn't ride your bike is because you still only have dirt roads, and those aren't meant for dirt roads. It's like those pavement bikes over there, pavement wheels.
Yeah, man. These are the back one is a nice road racing bike. That's a Specialized Venge Pro. And this first one right here, right there, is an aluminum bike. That's my training bike. But no, actually, funny enough, I have two roads because I'm on a corner. The one road is basically running through the tobacco fields, and yeah, it's a dirt road. The one on the other side's paved, though.
Allegedly. Pixar didn't happen.
Well, yeah, you know, maybe when my office is here, man, it showed up, but it's not finished. And that's my problem with contractors. I can't seem to get anybody to actually call me back or show up when they make an appointment to. So I started with, I want to drywall it, right? Fuck it, man. I'm not going to drywall it. I'm just going to do check this out. You'll love this, man. It dawned on me last night what I need to do. Brandon will like this. I'm going to put in wood paneling. Okay. Like MDF backed wood paneling because it's super easy to do by yourself because it's light and it's flexible, but it's good. I'm going to insulate the walls and the ceiling and all that jazz. I'm going to put in fucking shag carpet, man. And I'm going to get a couple beanbag chairs.
Well, I like the beanbag chairs. I've got those, like the Yogi Bows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those things. I have them in the basement. Love them. Absolutely.
Growing up, man, I had shag carpet in my bedroom.
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, my parents have lived in the same house since they got married, man. I mean, it took them. We didn't have air conditioning of any kind until after I graduated. Figure that out,
dude. You're in Ohio. You're practically in the North Pole.
I think you might be more north than I was, though.
No, in Ohio. No, because you're above. I'm at the mouth of the Lake Michigan.
All right. Well, I mean, where's Lake Erie in relationship to that? And then go south like 2 hours.
Yeah, but I got to go north to get to Ohio.
You do?
Yeah, northeast.
Well, you're like down in the bottom tip of Indiana, huh?
Yeah. Well, no, bottom tip of the lake. It's still northern Indiana.
Wait a minute. All right, man. So if you have to go north to Ohio, I don't know where the fuck you're going. Let's look at this. Well, hey everybody, it's a geography lesson today. Yeah, one of us is going to learn.
Map USA.
Okay, here we go.
Let me just put the road says I'm having to go northeast. Maybe it's only slightly to get there.
Well, yeah, I mean because here's Ohio and here's Indiana. My reference, so flip for you, but they're adjacent and they're the same height. I mean, because Michigan sits on top of both of them.
Oh, where I was coming in from, yeah, I have to go a little bit, but that's just because the road's going that way.
Yeah, right. I mean, the state isn't necessarily that way. Yeah.
Where were you at in Ohio?
I was in Akron, Canton.
Yeah, I'm definitely having to go north by northeast in order to get there.
North by northeast. Oh, you know, I didn't realize this, man. You have a Columbus also. So Columbus is the capital of Ohio, and it's almost dead center. It's basically just Ohio State University. I don't mean to offend any of my friends that live there, but come on, man. It's Ohio. I love Ohio, by the way. I mean, the territory is beautiful. The history is beautiful, but after the collapse of industrial manufacturing, ain't much left, man.
Yeah, so driving 80-90, which goes through Ohio, it's like the longest stretch coming in from Maryland. It's like 260 miles of one stretch of road.
Yeah.
Easy to do 90 plus on that road.
Allegedly.
Yeah. You just don't know when I was doing that. But I love Waze. Shout out to Waze. Keep all the people up. Matter of fact, I got my notification on Friday. I helped out 200 and I think it was 17 people with my alerts on that trip. Spotting Popo out there. I have nothing for the men and women in blue in terms of nothing but respect for them, except for those that have to give out speeding tickets.
Oh man, should we talk about cops for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Wait, you know what? I don't understand the hero worship. Like, so why should a law enforcement, state, federal, local, sheriff, whatever, right? Why should somebody in a uniform de facto have more respect than any other human? What is that? I'm not saying you do, but clearly culture does. And I've been curious about that for a long time because to me, it strikes me as hero worship.
Well, I guess I'll first start it off with, you know what policemen and firemen both have in common?
What?
When they were young, they both wanted to grow up to be firemen.
I almost spit my coffee out for real.
So firemen, I completely get, right? That is, you are doing nothing but saving lives, right? Every time you go out, you are 100% putting your life on the line to save someone else's.
Okay.
Right? Police, on the other hand, back in the day, like when we're talking, when they used to actually walk the beat, they were a part of the community. Right. I get it. They're there to try to help maintain order. Today, we are becoming, I think, and maybe rightfully so, I don't know, more of a police state. Police officers tend to believe they are above the law in a lot of ways and feel like, hey, I can just do whatever I want. I've never been I respect what they do, just like I respect what anyone does. And yeah, if you have to call 911, but typically if you have to call 911, someone's probably going to die anyway. And the cops are just going to be there to help bring them to justice, allegedly. But I don't get why, just by de facto, because they decided to go and be a police officer, is that why they should automatically get more respect than someone else.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's my point. Well, and man, I know this is how it's going to sound. I feel the same way about the military. These are all volunteer positions. These people are choosing to do that. And listen, I'm not saying it's an easy choice. Maybe in some situations, particularly with law enforcement or people that especially go into the military to raise their social ranking, right? Because, for instance, the Army does a fabulous job of that for people, right? If you grow up in a small town with no chance of vertical growth, going to the Army is one of the best things you could possibly do to go up the social ladder, right? And then naturally people come out and they gravitate towards jobs that are similar, right? Like law enforcement. So I get it. I don't think we don't need that function. I've never understood this default position of they're in some type of protected class. Like I've seen this kind of insanity on Facebook. If you punch a cop or if you punch a cop, it should be an instant death penalty. Well, why? I mean, why is punching a cop different than punching anybody else? You're still punching another human being. Why do they get some protected status just because they're in a uniform?
Well, I don't know about the protected status because they're in a uniform, but I'll first go to the military point. Military, I do give a more of a respect for, mainly because it's called out in the Constitution in terms of different things about our military. Nothing about law enforcement. The military is there to truly protect what the Constitution states. I mean, that's part of the aspect, and to make sure that foreign and enemies, foreign or domestic, do not take over. So I do give a little bit more there because that's war. I mean, their sole purpose is to defend us in war. I don't see that with police officers. That's not, I don't, that's not, to me, that's just not the same thing. Almost, and people who are, at least the majority of people I know in military, they don't brag about it. That's the ones that I know. You're a police officer? Dude, it's like in your face that they're a police officer.
Yeah, they're almost like CrossFit vegans.
Yeah. Yeah. It's now there's the exceptions, just like there's the exception of the military side. But if you're a police officer, it's like all in my face. Oh, yeah, I'm a police officer. I'm like, yeah, okay. You probably shoot like shit.
Well, look, man, it just so I'm clear. I don't think less of any of these categories of professions, right? I just question this default status because I look at it as, first of all, it's a choice. It's all a choice, right? These are chosen verticals. And if somehow, because of that choice, you're afforded some type of status, then maybe the problem isn't that. Maybe the problem is the way our social structure is oriented. Like, okay, I mentioned this the last time. This is what actually made me think about this in a real way. This notion of, and this is why the Constitution doesn't deal with law enforcement, because the community enforced law, right? And of course, they were of a vastly different size and scope and endeavor, but the community enforced it. So just like I don't know that we need a president anymore, I don't know that we need law enforcement departments anymore. I think what we need are smaller communities.
Interesting. So as you were saying that, outside of the president part, the part about the communities, and this is where I do like this. I like the fact that the person who should be ahead of law enforcement, like the elected sheriff, you don't do your job. I mean, the community is electing you to represent them to enforce the laws of the land. Maybe all, and so to speak, should be like that. These all the amount of police that we have. No, then each state, county has the ability to negotiate with their adjoining counties and states and along those lines for what's going to have, we'll say, deputyship going from one border to the next. Yeah, maybe if they're elected, maybe then they won't act in the same manner in which they act.
Well, and I've said this before, and I think you feel similarly because this is our libertarian bent. I feel strongly that everybody should have a mandatory civic service, not necessarily military. Not everybody's geared for that, man. Listen, let's be honest. The people that are good at that are special, and I mean that in a loving way. But to be a war fighter, it takes a specific makeup, right? But there's tons of stuff you can do. You can help run government. You can clean streets. So think about the origins of like the Minutemen as a militia or even neighborhood watch. Mm-hmm. Why do I need a police force if me and let's say the 100 people in my community all take a turn apart from our daily job, whatever that is and how that works out. And you are the police. Why does it require this external entity? And here's the problem, I think, with cops that you were talking about earlier, as it exists now in Western society, is that, well, of course they're above the law because they're the ones charged with enforcing it. I mean, nobody's enforcing the law on them except themselves.
Right. In a lot of ways, they're the judge, jury, executioner.
Yes. And here's the problem, for themselves and us.
Yeah.
Right. Look, man, human history is filled with examples of where that goes bad.
Yeah. Just look at Batman.
Yeah. Well, particularly when there's financial incentive. I mean, this is the problem I have with the way all these things work, is that this is the main or the primary means by which all these people feed their families. So there's a strong incentive to make sure that you can continue to feed your family in the way that you know how, right?
Sure, sure.
You're going to protect it at all costs. Why wouldn't you? That's a basic human instinct. I would probably think something was wrong if you didn't feel that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's I agree. I can't say there's anything in that statement that I find fault with.
Well, and that's why I find characters like John McAfee so compelling, because this is another thing. How do you know that guy's really crazy? I mean, I suspect he is. I suspect he's a bit off, but you know what? What if he's the one coming down with the clay tablet saying, "Hey, look, man, this is the way it's going to be."
Maybe, but you know, I've met the dude. I mean, I'm not that kind of doctor, but there's something off with that cat. You know, I'm just putting it out. There's something off with him. It doesn't mean everything he's saying is any less true, but there's still something off with that guy.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's descended from, or ascended, I guess, from the jungle. Yeah. Dude, I'll never forget that time we met him.
He's in your territory right now.
Yeah. I remember when we met him at the Demon Soul party at the Hustler.
Yeah.
The minute him and his whole entourage walked in, I could smell the crazy in there. Now, this is in a seedy strip club, so there's already plenty of crazy in there, man. But you know, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, that's a segue of I was going to talk also about Microsoft and Apple a little more. I don't know what you want to talk about with John McAfee.
No, I just wanted to kind of, because I feel like my enemies are always failing to kill me. But you know, I just want to bring up this one aspect of the stuff that's going on politically, because it kind of bothers me. And I think we've talked about it before, but there's a very basic premise that our legal system has been based on, which is called fruit from the poisonous tree. And essentially means this: no good action can come if the original action was illegal. And while I feel as a human for all these people that want to come to this country, if it was from an illegal act, they must be refused. Our immigration laws are not as bad as what people think they are. My ex was from Ukraine, and she came here legally. I know many people that have come here legally. It's not impossible. We can't house everyone. It's just unfortunate. I feel for them, but that's just, you know, humanity. So if they think these laws are bad, why don't they go test out, you know, the UK's or New Zealand's or Australia's? I don't know too much about Canada's, but I can say this, that my ex, her first choice was to go to England, was denied. So then she tried Australia, denied. New Zealand, denied, because they all speak Queen's English, and that's what she learned. But she was accepted immediately to the United States. Originally on a student visa, she then got transferred to work visa, and then, of course, then she wound up getting her green card, citizenship, stuff like that. It's not as bad as what people think, and it doesn't cost as much money as what people think when you do it legally. It's only when you get here illegally and then you need a lawyer when all of a sudden the costs go up. Asylum, seeking any type of asylum, doesn't happen when you don't come through a real port, and typically you have to go to the embassy that you are from the origin, and if there is one there. And there's like, I don't know, 5 different embassy-like things in Mexico. So I think people should probably stop politicizing and actually understand the other side. And I do get it. But it's really funny when all of a sudden, and here's the great part, there's technology exists. These photos have come out and we go, oh, this is from 2014. Now, with that, here's for all you boys and girls that are out there, here's a leadership lesson for you. I don't care that it came under the Obama administration. Does not matter to me. President Trump is currently the president. As a leader, he needs to figure out a way in which those that are incarcerated for this, they shouldn't be living in inhumane conditions. I don't care that it was the Obama administration. Don't care. President Obama is no longer president. It's now President Trump needs to do something about it. That's my feelings on it. What say you?
Well, yeah, I've actually tried to spend some time thinking about it, and this is where I'm at right now. I don't know. The waters are so, from my estimation, the waters are so intentionally muddied to politicize what is a very complex issue. Immigration is not a simple thing, right? And for the record, I agree with you as far as because I've known people that have immigrated from various countries, and including Canada. I know a handful of people that are dual citizens, and it's not always optimized or efficient, but as far as I can tell, it's a hell of a lot more straightforward if you do it through the proper channels than it is going to any other country through the proper channels. You know, at one point years ago, I looked at emigrating to the United Kingdom for work.
Good luck.
And I had an in-demand job. I mean, they were begging people to come, and it still was not straightforward. Nothing I would remotely call easy with no guarantee. Anyway, so here's the problem I have, and this is where you started, which I think is what your core issue is too, is it's so impossible to tell what's real that it's hard to actually form an educated opinion. And I'm actually at a point now where I'm not sure physically going there and inspecting it for myself will reveal the real truth.
No.
And to me, that's what's particularly dangerous. Is now that it's almost impossible to distinguish between what's real and what's a copy of a copy, let's say. And so this actually ties back to where I was going to, in some ways, end up with my conversation about localized community. But this should be the power of technology. Is, you know, back in the day, we had these localized communities, and because we were tribal by nature, and that created obviously issues, because tribes have to negotiate boundaries and borders, just like immigration and trade and so forth. And sometimes when there's disagreements, conflict breaks out, and that's not healthy for us, or at least not for the people that are actually in the conflict. But technology should help us solve that. And it did, right? We got industrialized, we got globalization, and it erased borders in some ways. And I think now, in some ways, we've actually gone maybe a little too far with the notion of what that means, not in practice, because this is what's interesting to me. Because of the power of technology, I'm physically localized right now, right? It's me in my office, and I can produce intellectual content and property that's valuable for somebody else somewhere else in the world. But because of the power of technology, I can transport my locality. You dig what I'm saying, right? I'm not tied geographically to a small community, but I can foster, let's call it a commune if you want, Brandon, a localized community, and then transport that technologically to where those services are needed and consume services the same way. So I don't know how simple the issue is. I mean, why the fuck are these people here to begin with? Well, coming from California, I can tell you why California did it, because they imported their underclass, and they didn't import their underclass because white people didn't want the jobs. They imported their underclass because for the employers, it was cheaper. Period. It's simple economics. It's not that, you know, my stepson didn't want to work at fast food. It's that the people that run that restaurant are conforming to market pressure, and they have to go with the lower wage to maximize profit. And if you don't like that, then you don't like a free market system.
That's part of the reason why, in a lot of ways, I'm against unions. Because the unions drive the prices up, and people who may not deserve $50 an hour are getting it, because that's the minimum that they can pay once you've reached a certain time on the job. And, you know, I just really believe that, you know, unions take away the free market. Our auto industry has suffered. Our car prices have gone through the roof. So, you know, how can you compete globally? And now, I mean, this whole stuff with the, you know, trade tariffs and things like that, that's just a tax to the government. It's like people going, hey, about time Amazon's going to pay taxes. Dude, it's sales tax. When they didn't have to collect it, they just didn't. But guess what? They were collecting it in a lot of states, because that's how else do you think they got same day deliveries in these big locations? Because they had to have something there.
That's right.
If you had an operating entity in the state, you were obligated to collect sales tax. I can't remember the last time when I didn't pay sales tax on something I bought from Amazon. You bunch of sheep that are out there thinking this is such a big, huge thing, and now Jeff Bezos is going to pay taxes. He was paying plenty of taxes.
He was paying what was legally required. Otherwise, he would be pulling a Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
And if you don't like what was required, then that requires getting up and voting.
Yeah. Of which, again, I'll just keep saying it. I don't believe these people that are out there complaining, they're not going to go vote.
No. This is the fundamental problem why I dislike it. Talk about like categorization and stereotyping. I categorically detest activists because all they do is talk. They don't do anything. They want everybody else to do it. You know what I mean?
This is one of those times like right now, I wished I was back working in government because I would volunteer to some of these agencies, these people going, you want to come after my family? Good luck. May the odds forever be in your favor. And I've got friends that are over there. Trust me, my friends, you are not looking to go and try and surround their kids at their schools. It will not end pretty.
Well, but to me, it goes to this broader point, and this is where I'm at in my thinking.
Mob mentality.
Well, yeah, it's dogpiling, right? Let's pick an extreme side because everybody else is the enemy, which is pathological to begin with. And then let's just immediately jump on every single issue we can find without any conversation or forethought. And that is exceedingly dangerous. Dude, I don't know why these people are here. I don't know who's illegal and who's not. I know they're people, so they should have certain basic human rights, but I don't know what's actually going on. And what I was saying was, I don't know how to find out. Now, listen, man, we're trained to find out information, right? As doctorate holders. I don't know how to find out the truth in this case. What's really going on, and what do we want as a society the result to be? Okay, so why is it bad to want to defend your borders? I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think that makes us national socialists. There's a big difference between having national pride and wanting to protect your nation versus wanting to exterminate people based on not being part of your nation. Those are two completely different things. Why is it bad to want people to be here legally if they want to be here? Okay, so maybe if you have faults with the system, then those are faults with the system, and let's talk about how to fix it, not we should just let everybody in. Listen, that has not worked out well for Western Europe over the last 5 years at all.
No. There's a reason for why there's a process. There's a vetting process, as part of that. We need to make sure that we're bringing in the types of people that are going to make our country better. Not everyone wants to come here has a skill that we need. That's not our fault, but that's the reason why we have borders. How do we know that these are not? Because it wouldn't be very difficult. Is this person linked to a cartel? Is this person a part of MS-13? What are the motives of this person to want to come to the United States? Just like if I were to leave, if I wanted to go become a citizen of some other country, they're going to be asking the same thing. And guess what? It's extremely difficult.
Well, and that's a fair point, man. I mean, beyond any of the ties to, let's say, terrorism or drug cartels or anything, how are you going to contribute to your new community? I mean, if you import labor that is unskilled, but you don't have those types of positions, now you've accepted these people as part of the community, they become a drain on it economically. Right. Well, do you want that? I don't. Because nobody's going to benefit from that. There is zero benefit from that.
In every situation, there has to be mutual benefit. I mean, even our friendship, there's a mutual benefit to it. If it was one way, it's not a friendship.
We both have ex-wives for that very reason.
True. It's got to be a mutual benefit in any relationship, any contract. And to come to the United States, what are they going to provide the United States, and what is the United States going to provide them?
Right. Right. And I think that's a healthy conversation. Here's the problem. And this is my problem with this immigration situation is there is no immediate answer because it's not a short-term problem. It's a long-term problem with a very long-term answer.
It's been a problem that's been going on for a very long time.
Well, sure it has. I mean, look, it's at some point we figured out as a nation, well, we might want to like document who's coming into the country. And that's how you got Ellis Island, for instance, with the mass exodus from Western Europe.
Yeah. Well, we have to have a process. You have to have a way. This is people that come on and bring up this country was formed on that. Yeah, it was when we were a nation that needed people. It didn't matter what the kind of people were at the time. We needed people because we knew we needed to be a country to be able to survive. The only way that survives is by people. Now we have a lot of people, 300 and whatever it is, 50 million, some people. It's a lot. It's a lot of people. So now we need to be a little bit more picky with the people that we get. That's just, that is again, just in a way capitalism. And this is we are still a capitalist society.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're a democratic republic. It's not a true democracy. Well, and so this is something that I find interesting too. These same processes in micro exist between states. There's certain rules I have to follow coming from California to North Carolina. I mean, pretty soon I got to go to the DMV and convert my, let's say, registration over. But that's not only the registration of my property, but of me as a citizen.
Yeah, and
I can't live here indefinitely legally as a California state resident. That has to change within a certain amount of time, or you're breaking the law.
And finally, you'll have a driver's license that'll probably be accepted in most states, whereas your California license, which that's a funny story. You should tell people that when you've been denied because you had to show your California license, you're like, get out of here.
Yeah, we don't want your California money. I've heard that numerous times.
Yeah.
Well, and so you have the option now because we've already made our appointment. Of course, Mrs. Pittman does it by the book, which is good in this case because it needs to be done by the book. You have an option now to get, let's say, a regular vanilla state license or get the real ID.
Really? They give you an option?
Yep.
Well,
in fact, the last time I traveled to Maryland, man, I woke up and I looked at my wallet and I'm like, oh shit, my license is expired.
Oh, you still have your passport.
Well, because I have my passport, which this is, I think, the story you were talking about. When I travel domestically, I always travel with a passport. Because that's a federal ID. Every state is legally beholden to accept that, at least for certain things, right? I mean, it's not a driver's license, so I can't drive with it, right?
Right.
But I can identify with it. So I've always carried my passport once I got it, always. And so, anyway, so when I figured out that my license was expired, I actually was in the airport at Baltimore. Well, I just happened to be looking for something, and I'm like, uh-oh. And so, at least in California, I don't know if you can do this in North Carolina yet. You can renew online and you just renew it and they ship it to you, right? Well, when I renewed it in California, I had the option to keep the regular old style or to get the federal ID version. But I knew I was moving, so there was no point in paying the extra 10, 15 bucks. It was a waste.
Right.
Because I only had that. I only need that for like a month. You know what I mean? But we're going to get the real IDs. Why not?
Well, it's interesting is that is why that would even be an option.
I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of grace period between the federal government and the states. I don't know. I didn't look into it.
Yeah, well, it's that grace period. I thought it was up in January 2019, and so if you didn't have one by then that conformed to it, you weren't going to be able to fly. And there's actually a notice saying something like Washington State residents.
Yes.
Yeah, there were several things that hey, your license was not conforming to real ID.
Yes. Yeah. Well. I don't know, man. I'm definitely not one of those people that am paranoid about there being a federal registry because, first of all, I'm already in it. I mean, if nothing else, I have a passport. I have an active passport that I use actively. So it gets scanned. It shows up in different places. So, I mean, I don't know why that's a bad thing. That's one thing that I think a federal government should provide, right? Uniformity in identity management across all states. Yeah. I don't want, if I want to go visit a state, I don't want that state to have the ability to refuse my access because I'm a citizen of the country.
Yeah, that's what people forget first is that, first we're human. Then in a way your religious upbringing, doesn't mean it doesn't change. Then it's your country of citizenship, then your state, then county, local, right? Federal ID overrides anything that the state may want to do.
Well, you see this some ways too in the EU when they had the Schengen area.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's similar where there's travel and trade agreements, let's say, broadly speaking.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I don't know exactly what's going to wind up coming, but it'd be funny about the amount of people that aren't going to be able to travel unless they have a passport. And it's funny about the Federal Registry. Like, one, okay, I held a clearance, whatever. I vote. I have a passport. I have global entry. That's basically a little bit more than TSA pre-check. Yeah, I'm already in every registry the United States pretty much has.
Well, and the way I look at it is with my sense of duty and obligation as a citizen is I want to be there. I mean, I want to take on more responsibility as a citizen. And if a real ID or a passport or a global access card, a Sentinel card, whatever, right, affords me the ability to do that in a more uniform way, then that's good. Because look, if this is something that in my mind, if you leave to the States, what you'll get is some states, for instance, will leave off date of birth for some stupid reason, right? And then other states require it, let's say, for access to buy alcohol. Well, what are you going to do if you're visiting that state and your ID, because of your state's rules, don't have the same uniform construction in let's say, metadata or data elements? That's
Right.
bad. You want the metadata and the data elements to be consistent across all states. Now, if some other state wants to add on something like, let's say, mandatory organ donorship, okay, fine. I don't think the federal government should compel that.
Yeah, I mean, because your organ donorship tends to go local anyway.
Right. Exactly. And it should. The man, I don't even know if I care if the picture's color or black and white. Simple shit like that. Where's it located on the card? I don't know that I care about that, but the data that's on the card and the metadata in the swipe should be standardized.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No arguments at all. But yeah, I took a turn.
Well, look, man, I don't know who else really talks about this shit, to be honest with you, and I think about it all the time.
Well, absolutely, and this is the thing with all of it, and we don't have a political agenda. We're not Fox News. We're not CNN.
No, we're citizens.
Yep, we're citizens. Talking about these things, and there's no mob mentality aspect. I fully understand why people are outraged when they see these pictures. Yeah, it would. I'm angry at it. And I don't buy the argument of the Republicans going, well, this was actually under President Obama. You know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
President Trump is in power now. A leader says, you know what? I'm going to fix it. Hey, every company I've been into, I don't sit there and blame the person that did it before me. The moment I took over, it became mine. Every problem is now my problem, and it's my obligation to fix it.
And I think that's good leadership. Leaders don't blame other people. They take responsibility. And that's the thing is, okay, so the conversation ought to be about, is there something bad happening? And this cuts both ways. Are people here illegally? Yes or no? And then there's a set of questions that get engendered. Is there abuse of human rights? Yes or no? And then there's a set of sub-questions that are engendered. And to me, that's the material conversation, not Obama's the one that wrote the law or the Clintons. How's that relevant? It doesn't matter. We have a situation, and that's what the conversation should be about, not anything else.
Right.
I mean, I get it. I understand why that's going on, because it's polarization, it's tribalism writ large, and it's bad. It's really bad for us.
It is. And, I am sure there is a solution. And here's just part of the things that I think about with this. Because I know that some of these kids are mules. They know that they were going to get across, and now they're here. And so that wasn't their family member. That's probably still a small percentage of the amount of people of the kids that have been separated. Small percentage. Those ones I feel even worse for. And those ones I would want to protect even more if they were a part of a cartel, MS-13, whatever. I would want to protect those children even more, because they likely didn't have a parent on the other side. Those that, I don't understand this aspect of separating the children from their parents to begin with. because why would you not in a detention center of some type? Because if one's crossing the border illegally, they're all illegal. I mean, why not just send them back? I don't understand the reasoning to keep.
Yeah, well, I don't understand why. Well, I mean, I do, but in these specific situations, I don't understand the genesis of why the people are coming here to begin with, which to me is part of a root cause analysis. Well, look, man, if you're coming from, man, pick a country that's a legitimate bad place, right? Where there's, tribal conflict, people are getting killed and raped and what the fuck ever, right? Oh, okay. What's that?
California.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, in some ways,
why you immigrated from California to the best coast.
Well, metaphorically, in some ways, sure. Right. Okay. Well, then clearly those people are coming here because they're trying to flee a bad situation. This is all hypothetical. Well, okay. So as humans first, does it make more sense to allocate resources to fixing that shitty situation? I think so.
I don't know. I mean, that gets into a different debate of sovereignty. If we're going to go invade a country just because of their just the human rights, there's nothing in it for the United States. In terms of that, like the reason why we're still doing all this in the Middle East, there's still oil.
Sure. Well, look, I'll say it straightforward. I have no problem with imperialism.
Yeah.
when it's pure in spirit, right? I mean, yes, we are the world's cop, and well, we should be. We should lead by example. And if some people are fucking up, then well, look, man. Sometimes there's only one way to correct that. I'm not for it out of hand, right? I don't think it should be the first solution. But look, man, I mean,
hence the reason why I have more respect for people in military than police.
I dig it. Yeah, sure. I dig it. Okay, so taking it opposite, and I'll kind of wrap up here. So maybe they're coming here to take advantage of a system that has loopholes in it and flaws, which surely any system of this scale does. Indubitably,
has to.
It's just too big. Nothing can scale this large, which to me is one of the core root problems, by the way. But nonetheless, okay, well then the conversation should be about fixing the system and scaling it in a way using technology that can handle this kind of intake and outtake if the case may be necessary. Because that's okay. So if let's say even 10% of this population that's here is here illegally, or is here and doesn't possess the requisite characteristics that we're going to allow to stay for whatever reason, right? They have a criminal history, whatever. How do you get them back? I mean, how do you actually deport somebody? Do you put them in a bus and drive them and let them off? Well, look, man, I saw what happened in California with the homeless, right? LA County paid Orange County, where I lived, to bus all those homeless people out of LA into that area. They paid. And that did not work out well for anybody except for the people that benefited from the finances.
Yep. I don't know that there's a good solution for that in terms of like, how do we get them back? I guess the first thing is if there's 10% that are here illegally, the first question I would ask them, are you going to vote in every election?
Yeah.
Because I'm more likely at that point, if they don't have a criminal record, to want them to come in, because then maybe they'll start voting some of these other problems away. And this is, I'll just remember my sociology teacher at Strayer, African-American dude, really smart guy. Father had passed away and his mom, single mom, him and his two brothers. And he was doing his PhD at University of Maryland. And he asked the question, how many people are in here Democrats? How many people are in here Republican? And he's like, all right, all you people that are raising your hand that are Democrats, put them back up. And most of them at the time were African-American. He goes, I'm willing to bet that in 10 years from now, you will have changed your philosophical ways in which you do things. It'll be more Republican-based. You may not change your party, but you will act more Republican because you're going to be making more money and you're going to be going, where's my money going? And it was, of course, the other students there that were raising their hand for Democrats were like, no, that's never going to happen. And he's like, I'm a sociology. I'm teaching sociology. My PhD is in sociology. And I'm telling you, the data shows this. when people come here, and is out of all the ones that I know that had got here legally, they did all do some things, like they were sending money back home, not legally, right? You're not supposed to send that kind of currency out, but they were doing it anyway. And they're now, of course, they're the ones that are going, a lot of them, wait a minute, I did all this stuff legally. And these people get to come here. I had to work for this. I earned it. Why are we going to take away from those that earned it? It delegitimizes the process. It delegitimizes what we stand for.
Well, and so well said, man. Absolutely well said. And this translates over into finances too. Why do you want to take from the rich? Why do you want to take somebody down so that you can feel better and have more? Because first of all, it doesn't work that way. There's no way to redistribute wealth. It doesn't work that way, especially on this scale. Instead, why don't you ask the hard question? How do we either fix the problems in the system that allow a disparity, or what can we do, because we're the mass, right? I mean, we're the majority, such that we can scale up to that, whatever that ideal is. To me, that's a much more meaningful conversation than fuck these 1% people. Let's take all their money through taxes. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Not the, well, it's definitely in the top 10.
It's definitely top 10. Definitely top 10. Because here's the thing, everyone wants to be in that 1%.
Of course. Why wouldn't you, man?
Right.
I mean,
and that's why I'm going more education. Again, I'm going to fill that gap. Okay, I'm going to have some more student loan debt, but I believe it's an investment in me. And if I'm going to bet on someone, it's going to be me. You're
goddamn right. Well said, man. That's probably the best thing you've said today. And you said a lot of good shit, but that's right, man. Well, you know, this goes back to several episodes ago. We had this whole conversation about leadership and style and stuff. And that's it, man. It's this unwavering sense of self-preservation. You're not going to kill me. You'll fail. Many have failed before you, and many after you will. You can't get me. Temporarily, you'll trip me maybe, but right? I mean, and that I think is that original startup mentality of I will not be successful.
All right. Have you only a slight divergent. Have you seen the movie yet, The Greatest Showman?
No, I haven't.
About P.T. Barnum?
No, but you know, when I lived in Connecticut, I lived not far and worked not far from his museum, and I used to go to it all the time.
Dude, so I learned some things about him on watching the movie. I did some research on him. I got a lot more respect for that cat right now. One, he was one of the main proponents for the abolishment of slavery, but for the proponent of the 13th Amendment. But I've added to my morning songs I listen to as I'm getting ready, and this one song, and I gotta bring it up here. It's called "This Is Me." And anyone that's having doubts about, it's by, I'm hopefully pronouncing her name correctly, Keala Settle. She is one of the actors, and she plays the bearded woman in the movie. And, after she's put down, and this is the song that they sing in. Great movie, great song. But this is the part. If you don't know who you are, if you choose to act outside of your nature, you will fail.
Yeah,
I know who I am, and I will bet on myself every single time. And if everyone out there, like, again, these people that have chosen to come here illegally, they're hoping that they're going to get something. I applaud you for your effort. Do everything, do the right thing the right way, and don't give up. But it's going to be more difficult now that you came here illegally. When you get sent back, there's no legal way for you to come.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yep. So anyway, that's all I got, brother.
Me too, man. Dude, I don't know what, actually, I'm a little in awe of this notion. And I think it's a perfect place to end it. If you're going to bet on somebody, bet on yourself. I think that's a great mantra for this Sunday.
Yep. Always. It's every day.
And episode 69, man. We're almost to the 70s.
I got to say this part of it. So, I met with my CEO, and we were just talking like, what do you do, like, and this stuff, this, that, and I said, it doesn't matter what the game is, I'm going to win. I said, I will talk so much trash to the other person that I will get them thinking on what I'm saying. It's a mental game. And the first part, he was like, that's awfully arrogant. And I said, it's just true, because I will find a way to win at everything. I might get knocked down here and there, but I can get you off your games. That way it doesn't matter. And he goes, oh, you'd be awfully fun to play golf with. I said, only if we're playing for money.
That's right. That's right, man. Well, right. I mean, if we're going to compete, let's compete. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't have fun. We've talked about this a million times. We can have fun at it, and it's friendly. But if we're going to compete, let's compete. Let's make it worth something.
Yeah, and I'll just be like, look, one of my paychecks versus one of your paychecks.
Well, maybe if you have time on Thursday, we'll do a short one, because maybe we should talk about this notion of, look, man, every day I wake up, I'm going to war in a metaphorical sense.
I am.
Because I'm conquering something myself always. It's very often not about external things, but this notion of how do you build this level of, this is confidence. It's not arrogance. People that think that's arrogant have never met a truly arrogant, narcissistic person.
Yeah, they'll have to meet my boss. He was accused of being a narcissist, so I tell him all the time, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what a narcissist would say.
Sure.
But that's exactly the reason why I'm in the gym more. I am getting my energy back. I'm getting myself in better shape. Not that I want to look like someone on the cover of Men's Fitness magazine or any of the other things, but I'm going to be in tip-top shape.
Well, look, man. Look at that. Ian, when I put this around your head and squeeze, brother. Oh, shit, man. All right. That's episode 69 in the bag.
May your enemies always fail.
May your days be long, brother.
Peace. Later, folks.